Nizhny Novgorod region, Russia, September 16, 2025. In a striking display of military power and geopolitical defiance, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Tuesday that 100,000 troops are currently participating in the joint Zapad 2025 exercises with Belarus. The revelation came during his surprise visit to one of the training sites near NATO borders, a move certain to deepen already fragile relations with the West. Putin's presence on the ground was carefully choreographed. Cameras captured him meeting delegations from countries as diverse as India, Iran, Bangladesh, Burkina Faso, Congo, and Mali, nations that joined the exercises in a rare show of solidarity with Moscow. It was a gathering that projected both symbolism and force, an image of Russia not isolated, but flanked by allies willing to stand on the same military stage. Facing military officials and foreign representatives, the Russian leader spelled out the strategic purpose of the drills. Vladimir Putin said, "The goal of the exercise is to develop all the necessary elements for the unconditional protection of sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to repel possible aggression against the Union state." His words underscored the tone of defiance against NATO, a direct message that Moscow remains committed to defending its borders and its political union with Belarus. The choice of language, unconditional protection, and repel possible aggression, was intended to leave no room for ambiguity. Russia was ready, he implied, for any confrontation that might emerge from the tense standoff with the West. The Zapad maneuvers are not new. Historically, they have been conducted every 4 years and have often alarmed NATO members. But the 2025 edition has carried heightened significance. This year's drills simulate the occupation of the Suwalki corridor, a narrow strip of land running along the border between Poland and Lithuania. Military analysts have long identified this corridor as NATO's weak point, the shortest route connecting Belarus to Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. Should conflict erupt, the corridor would be a prime strategic objective for Moscow. The implications of the simulation are stark. For NATO members, particularly Poland and Lithuania, it is a chilling reminder of vulnerability. The fact that the exercise follows only a week after Russian drones were shot down in Polish territory adds to the atmosphere of crisis. Warsaw responded by closing its border with Belarus and announcing the deployment of 40,000 troops near the frontier, a scale of mobilization not seen since the Cold War. Official statements from Minsk had initially suggested that only 7,000 Belarusian troops would take part in the exercises on its territory. That figure seemed modest, designed perhaps to avoid alarming neighboring states. But Putin's declaration of 100,000 participants revealed the true scope of the drills, one far exceeding Belarus's estimates. Moreover, the participation of countries such as Iran, India, and Mali highlights Russia's effort to broaden the Zapad format beyond a bilateral exercise with Belarus into a multinational platform. For Moscow, this expansion serves several purposes. It showcases international partnerships, undermines the narrative of Russian isolation, and demonstrates that the Kremlin still has friends willing to stand publicly at its side. Alongside troop movements and ground operations, the exercises also featured Russia's cutting-edge weapons systems. The Ministry of Defense released footage of the frigate Admiral Golovko launching a Zirkon hypersonic cruise missile from the Barents Sea. The missile, aimed at a simulated target, highlighted Russia's focus on demonstrating its technological edge in high-speed precision weaponry, a capability designed to complicate NATO's defensive planning. Putin emphasized this aspect in his remarks. Vladimir Putin said, "Moreover, all of this is modern technology used in practical combat operations, and the training plans are based on the experience gained during the special military operation." This was a thinly veiled reference to Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, which Moscow continues to call a special military operation. By invoking combat experience, Putin linked the Zapad drills to lessons learned on the Ukrainian battlefield, signaling that Russia is refining its doctrines with real-time data from an active war. The imagery emerging from the drills was dramatic. Fighter jets streaked across the sky, tanks advanced through smoke and explosions, and Russian drones buzzed overhead. At one point, Putin was filmed entering an armoured vehicle, a moment clearly designed to portray him as a commander, not distant from the battlefield, but present in the machinery of war. The optics were equally about messaging at home as they were about intimidating abroad. Putin remains firmly in control, Russia remains militarily formidable, and the union state with Belarus is more than symbolic. The exercises triggered alarm in Europe. Poland, already on high alert after drone incidents, took immediate steps to reinforce its defences. With 40,000 troops stationed along its border, Warsaw signalled both preparedness and defiance. Lithuanian and Latvian officials echoed similar warnings, describing Zapad 2025 as a rehearsal for potential aggression. For NATO, these manoeuvres come at a time when the alliance is recalibrating its posture in Eastern Europe. The war in Ukraine has already transformed NATO planning, leading to unprecedented deployments across its eastern flank. The Zapad exercises, with their size and realism, only intensify the urgency. This is not the first time Russia has staged Zapad on such a scale. In 2021, some 200,000 troops participated, months before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. For Western observers, this precedent is troubling. Large-scale Zapad drills have historically foreshadowed significant escalations in Russian military behavior. The 2025 edition, though smaller than 2021, carries similar undertones of preparation and readiness. The participation of non-European countries is a notable evolution. India's presence, in particular, stands out given its long-standing defense ties with Russia. Iran's involvement signals Tehran's tightening partnership with Moscow amid shared tensions with Washington. Meanwhile, African states like Mali and Burkina Faso underscore Russia's growing influence on the continent, where it has positioned itself as an alternative partner to traditional Western powers. Putin's meeting with representatives from these countries, captured by cameras in Nizhny Novgorod, was emblematic. It was not just a military drill. It was a diplomatic stage. Handshakes with defense ministers, consultations with allied officers, and joint observation of maneuvers all painted a picture of Russia's attempt to redefine the global military landscape. The symbolism of Zapad 2025 goes beyond troop numbers. It communicates Russia's readiness to defend its sovereignty, its capability to mobilize massive forces quickly, and its willingness to challenge NATO on the very borders of the alliance. It also projects an image of a multipolar world where Moscow, despite sanctions and isolation from the West, still commands respect and cooperation. For Belarus, the stakes are equally high. President Alexander Lukashenko has long relied on Moscow for security guarantees. By hosting Zapad 2025, Minsk reinforces its role as Russia's closest ally and as a frontline state against NATO. As Zapad 2025 continues, the world watches closely. For NATO, the drills are a wake-up call about vulnerabilities along its eastern flank. For Russia, they are a demonstration of strength, solidarity, and technological prowess. And for countries like Poland and Lithuania, they are a stark reminder that the front lines of Europe's security crisis lie right at their borders. The images of Putin observing drones, shaking hands with generals, and stepping into armoured vehicles are as much about theatre as they are about military readiness. But behind the optics lies a deeper reality. Europe is once again staring into the abyss of confrontation, and Zapad 2025 is the latest signal that the Cold War's shadow still looms large over the continent.